At 66, Evelyn Grant believed she had seen every kind of cruelty life could offer. She was wrong. The cream-colored invitation came in the mail, embossed with gold lettering and Sabrina's perfect handwriting. Join us for an intimate family dinner to celebrate Michael's 38th birthday. Evelyn smiled at first. She missed her son. But something about the card, too formal, too polished, made her uneasy. Still, she spent the afternoon preparing, choosing her favorite navy blue dress with pearl buttons, the one her late husband, Arthur, had loved. She even splurged on a salon visit downtown to have her silver hair styled. "Big night?" the stylist asked with a smile. "My son's birthday," Evelyn said softly. "First time we'll be together in months." The restaurant Sabrina had chosen was one of those glittering places that whispered money from every corner. Chandeliers sparkled like constellations. Waiters glided between tables dressed in white linens that probably cost more than Evelyn's monthly groceries. She clutched her small handbag tightly as the hostess led her through the maze of voices and laughter. When Michael stood to greet her, she saw a flicker of the boy he once was, the one who used to run into her arms after school. "Happy birthday, darling," she said, hugging him tightly. But he felt different, stiffer, colder. "Thanks for coming, Mom," he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Sabrina sat beside him, her golden hair swept into an elegant updo. "Evelyn," she said with a polite smile, "you look so presentable." The word landed like a slap. Presentable, not beautiful, not elegant. Evelyn sat down, trying to steady herself. She told herself not to take it personally, but every sentence Sabrina spoke seemed dipped in honey and poison. "You must miss Arthur," Sabrina said sweetly. "It must be hard living all alone now." Michael cleared his throat awkwardly. Evelyn smiled faintly. "Some days are quieter than others." The waiter arrived with menus, and Sabrina took charge, scanning the list as though she owned the place. "We'll have the Chateau Margaux," she announced proudly. Then she turned to Evelyn. "Oh, perhaps that's too pricey for you." Her cheeks burned, but Evelyn smiled politely. "I think it sounds perfect." Sabrina gave a small laugh. "How generous of you." The evening unfolded like a slow unmasking. Michael spoke about his promotion at the law firm. Sabrina gushed about their upcoming trip to Italy. Evelyn listened, nodded, and tried to join in, but her every word seemed to amuse Sabrina. When Evelyn mentioned volunteering at the community center, Sabrina laughed outright. "How adorable! Playing bingo with the other lonely ladies. That must be so fulfilling." Michael said nothing. He just cut his steak, eyes fixed on his plate. Evelyn swallowed her hurt, pretending not to notice. The conversation circled endlessly around success, money, and luxury, things that now felt foreign to her. She missed simpler times when Michael used to help her cook Sunday dinners, when kindness didn't need a price tag. But Sabrina's world was built on appearances. Every compliment was an insult wearing perfume. Evelyn's heart tightened as she realized her son had learned that language too well. When Sabrina excused herself to the restroom, Evelyn saw her chance. "Michael," she whispered, "can we talk?" He looked uneasy. "Mom, about your living situation." Evelyn frowned. "What about it?" He hesitated. "We just worry about you, living alone in that neighborhood. Maybe it's time to consider other options." "Other options," she repeated. Before he could answer, Sabrina returned, smiling like a cat with cream. "Oh good, you're talking about Evelyn's future. I was just telling Michael the same thing." Evelyn stared as Sabrina continued. "You're not getting younger, sweetheart. You live alone, barely scraping by. It's not sustainable. There are lovely assisted living communities nearby. Affordable, safe." Evelyn's stomach turned. "Assisted living. Sabrina, I'm not an invalid." Sabrina gave a theatrical sigh. "Of course you think that. But we need to be realistic. You eat canned soup alone every night. You volunteer just to fill your days. It's heartbreaking, really." She took a slow sip of wine, then added, "Let's be honest. You'll die poor and alone anyway." The words hit like a physical blow. Poor and alone, Sabrina said it with a smile, as if commenting on the weather. Evelyn's hands trembled beneath the table. That's enough, Sabrina, she said softly. But Michael didn't speak. He just sat there silent and complicit. Sabrina continued. We just want what's best for you. Michael's working so hard, and we'll have children soon. We can't be responsible for you too. The word responsible echoed painfully in Evelyn's head, as if she were a burden, not the woman who'd raised him alone. She stood up slowly, her chair scraping the marble floor. Excuse me, she whispered, voice trembling. Where are you going? Sabrina called. Evelyn didn't look back. She walked through the glittering restaurant past families who looked happy, past couples sharing laughter, until the night air hit her face. Her hands shook as she reached her car. Then she heard footsteps. Mom, wait. Michael's voice. Hope flickered in her chest. Maybe he'd come to apologize. But he said, You can't just leave like that. Sabrina feels terrible. Evelyn turned away. Does she? Of course she does, he insisted. She was just trying to help. Evelyn stared at him. Help me. By humiliating me. Michael sighed, rubbing his temples. We just want what's best for you. She looked at her son, the man she'd worked herself to exhaustion for, and realized she no longer recognized him. Tell her not to worry, Evelyn said quietly. I'll be fine. She got into her car and drove away, her tears blurring the city lights. For the first time in years, she felt something breaking inside, and something else awakening. That night, Evelyn sat alone in her small rented apartment, surrounded by silence and old memories. The humiliation still burned, but beneath it, something fierce began to grow. Resolve. She wiped her tears, made herself a cup of strong coffee, and sat at the kitchen table with papers she hadn't touched in months. Investment accounts, property deeds, bank statements. Sabrina thought she was poor. She had no idea. Evelyn Grant was worth over $1.8 million. Quiet wealth built by Arthur's wisdom, not luck. He'd invested in real estate and stocks decades ago. When Arthur passed away, he left everything to her with a simple note. Take care of yourself, Evelyn. You deserve more than you think. But Evelyn had chosen simplicity. She lived modestly, testing whether her son's love would hold without money's shadow. Now she had her answer. The night Sabrina said, You'll die poor and alone, was the moment Evelyn stopped being afraid. She opened her laptop, reviewed her accounts, and felt the calm certainty of a woman who had nothing left to prove, and nothing left to lose. The next morning, Evelyn woke before sunrise. The air was cool, the city quiet. As she sipped her coffee, her plan began to take shape. She called her lawyer, Amelia Drake. Amelia, it's Evelyn Grant. I'd like to make some changes to my will. Amelia's voice was warm but curious. Of course, Evelyn. What kind of changes? Evelyn hesitated for only a moment. I want to remove my son as a beneficiary. A brief silence followed. That's a strong decision, Amelia said softly. May I ask why? Evelyn's voice was steady. Because I finally see clearly. Amelia didn't press further. All right. Who would you like to name instead? Evelyn smiled faintly. The Silver Haven Foundation. They help elderly people abandoned by their families. People like me. That's generous, Amelia said. Are you certain? Evelyn thought of Sabrina's laughter, of Michael's silence. Completely. They set an appointment for that afternoon. When Evelyn hung up, she felt a weight lift. The burden of hoping for love that had long since withered. For the first time in years, she dressed not for others, but for herself. She opened the closet she had ignored for months, the one holding memories of a life she had tucked away. Designer suits from her working days. Elegant gowns from old charity events. Jewelry Arthur had given her for anniversaries. She chose a black Chanel suit and stood before the mirror. The woman staring back looked strong again. You've been hiding too long, she whispered. She went to Amelia's office, signed the new documents, and left with a serene smile. Her future no longer belonged to anyone but herself. That evening, she returned to the same salon from the day before. "Back so soon?" the stylist Jenna asked in surprise. Evelyn smiled. "Yes, I want something new. Something that feels like me." 2 hours later, she left with a sleek silver bob that framed her face beautifully. She looked younger, not in years but in spirit. That night, she poured herself a glass of wine from a bottle Arthur had saved. She raised it to his picture on the mantel. "You were right, my love," she whispered. "I do deserve better." The next morning, Evelyn woke with renewed purpose. She opened her laptop and began searching for houses. Not rentals, homes, real ones. She'd lived small for too long. When she met the realtor Linda Harris that afternoon, she explained, "I'm looking for somewhere peaceful, somewhere that feels like freedom." After touring 3 houses, they arrived at a colonial-style villa surrounded by oak trees. 6 bedrooms, library, a garden with a small pond. "It's beautiful," Evelyn said softly, running her fingers over the marble counter. "I'll take it." Linda blinked. "Don't you want to see the rest? Discuss an offer." "Full price. Cash," Evelyn said calmly. "How soon can we close?" Linda smiled, impressed. 2 weeks, maybe less. By Friday, the papers were signed, and Evelyn held the keys to her new home. The day she moved in, she walked through every room, touching the walls like they were a promise. She had never felt so powerful. For the first time since Arthur's death, she wasn't surviving, she was living. And she couldn't wait for Michael and Sabrina to find out. 3 weeks later, Michael finally called. "Mom, where have you been? We were worried." "I've been busy moving," she replied. "Moving? To where?" "I bought a house." Silence, then disbelief. "You bought a house? Where?" "Willow Creek Lane," she said lightly. "A lovely colonial." Michael stammered. "Mom, those houses cost millions." Evelyn smiled to herself. "Your father was good with money." She could hear Sabrina's voice in the background. Then Michael said stiffly, "That's great, Mom. We should come see it." "You should," she said. Saturday at 2. Saturday arrived with bright skies and crisp air. Evelyn spent the morning arranging fresh lilies in the foyer and setting out pastries in her sunlit living room. She wasn't nervous, she was ready. At exactly 2 o'clock, Michael's silver BMW rolled into the driveway. From the window, she watched as Sabrina adjusted her cream-colored suit in the mirror. "Smile," she told Michael. "We need to look grateful." Evelyn opened the door before they could knock. "Welcome," she said warmly. "Come in." Michael's jaw tightened as he stepped inside. "Mom, this place is incredible." Sabrina's eyes scanned every inch, already measuring, evaluating. "It's quite spacious," she said sweetly. "Much too big for one person, don't you think?" Evelyn smiled. "I like the space." Sabrina chuckled, her gaze sweeping across the chandeliers and marble floors. "Of course. But it must be exhausting, the cleaning, the maintenance, the taxes." He turned to Michael. "Don't you worry about your mother living alone in such a large house?" "I manage fine," Evelyn said before he could answer. They followed her on a tour. Sabrina ran her hands along the walls, complimenting the finishes as though she were inspecting her own future home. When they reached the master bedroom, Sabrina's mask slipped. "It's enormous. Honestly, this would be perfect for us when the baby comes." Evelyn paused. "Excuse me." Sabrina smiled brightly. "Oh, I didn't mean now, just eventually. This house is perfect for a growing family." They sat for coffee in the drawing room, and Sabrina continued her charade. "We've been talking," she began, "and this place really is ideal for children. Good schools, safe streets. You'd have company too, Evelyn. We could help you with expenses, and you'd never be lonely." Michael nodded carefully. "You wouldn't have to worry about upkeep. We could all live here together." Evelyn listened quietly, hiding her amusement behind a polite smile. "You think I should give you the house?" Sabrina laughed lightly. "Not give, darling. Or, we could call it a family home. Evelyn set down her cup and said softly, "That's a generous idea. Let me think about it." Sabrina beamed, turning to Michael. "See, I told you she'd understand." Evelyn excused herself. "Just a quick call," she said. As she walked toward her study, she heard Sabrina whisper, "This is going to be perfect. She'll sign it over in no time." Evelyn closed the study door and dialed Amelia's number. "Amelia Drake's office," a voice answered. "This is Evelyn Grant. I need to speak with Amelia. Urgently." When Amelia came on the line, Evelyn's tone was calm but resolute. "I need to add a clause to my will. A very clear one." "What kind of clause?" Amelia asked. "Under no circumstance can my son or his wife ever inherit this property." Amelia hesitated. "That's quite final, Evelyn." "I know," she replied. "But I've made up my mind." She looked out the window at the garden where sunlight glimmered on the pond. Through the walls, she could hear Sabrina's laugh, that high, entitled sound that had haunted her for years. "I want the house to go to Silver Haven too," she continued. "If they ever contest it, they'll lose the right even to visit the property." Amelia's voice softened. "You sound at peace with this." Evelyn smiled faintly. "Peace is exactly what I'm buying." When she returned to the living room, Sabrina was taking measurements with her phone. "Just visualizing furniture," she said. Evelyn's calm was absolute. Over the next hour, she listened to Sabrina describe how she'd brighten the place up and open the kitchen for better flow. Evelyn nodded, playing along. "You have lovely ideas," she said sweetly. When Michael checked his watch, he murmured, "We should get going. Dinner with the Cardins." "Of course," Evelyn said, walking them to the door. Sabrina air-kissed her cheek. "We'll talk about the arrangement soon, yes? I think it'll be wonderful for everyone." "I'm sure it will," Evelyn replied. As the BMW disappeared down the driveway, Evelyn exhaled. Her home felt cleaner without them. She picked up her phone and called Amelia again. "They were here," she said simply. "Time to make everything official." On Monday morning, Evelyn sat at Amelia's mahogany desk signing documents with a steady hand. "It's all done," Amelia confirmed. "This house, your accounts, all secured for the foundation." Evelyn nodded. "And the letter?" Amelia handed her a typed page. "Would you like to read it aloud?" Evelyn did, her voice clear. "To my son Michael Grant, love without respect is not love at all. Family is not ownership. You had both once. You lost them by choice." She looked up. "Perfect." Amelia slid the letter into a sealed envelope. "Are you sure you're ready to send it one day?" Evelyn smiled softly. "Oh, it will find them when the time is right." 3 days later at dawn, her phone rang. Michael's voice was tight, almost trembling. "Mom, what did you do?" Evelyn stirred her coffee calmly. "Good morning to you too, Michael." "Don't play dumb," he snapped. "Amelia's office called for property confirmation. They said we're not beneficiaries anymore." Evelyn took a long sip of coffee. "Ah, so you've found out." "Mom, how could you?" "After everything." She laughed quietly. "After everything is exactly why. We're coming over," he said. "Now." "All right," she replied and set the cup down. The calm in her voice unnerved even herself. 20 minutes later, the front door swung open before she could greet them. Sabrina stormed in first, eyes blazing. "How could you do this?" she screamed. "After all we've done for you." Evelyn tilted her head. "What exactly have you done for me, Sabrina?" "Don't be cruel," Michael said. "You made us believe we'd live here. We planned everything." "You assumed," Evelyn corrected calmly. "I never agreed." Sabrina's voice rose. "You led us on. We've been preparing for months. You're being selfish." Evelyn's tone remained even. "I'm being independent. There's a difference." Sabrina's face twisted with rage. "You're almost 70. You shouldn't be living alone in a house like this." Michael tried to intervene. "Mom, please be reasonable. You don't need this much space. Evelyn looked at him. Then buy your own. Sabrina's voice broke into a bitter laugh. With what money? Houses cost millions. Schools for our children cost thousands. You could help us, but instead you're hoarding everything. Evelyn stood slowly, her posture regal. Your child's life is your responsibility, not mine. Sabrina's fury exploded. You're a bitter, selfish old woman. No wonder Arthur left you. Evelyn's voice turned cold. Arthur didn't leave me, Sabrina. He died. And your cruelty reminds me why he never liked you. The silence that followed was cutting. Even Michael looked stunned. Sabrina's anger shifted to desperation. You can't do this. Everything you have belongs to Michael. He's your only family. Evelyn crossed her arms. Family is not ownership. Did your parents teach you that? Michael's voice broke. Mom, please. We're having a baby. Evelyn froze. A baby. 3 months, Sabrina said triumphantly. We were saving the surprise. Now you'll change your mind. Evelyn looked at them both, her heart aching but not softening. Congratulations, she said quietly. That changes nothing. Nothing. Sabrina shouted. You'll let your grandchild live in a cramped apartment while you rot in this mansion alone? If it means peace, Evelyn said. Then yes. Sabrina's face went pale with rage. You'll regret this when you're old and sick. When you're alone with no one to help you. Evelyn smiled faintly. I'm not afraid of solitude. I've already lived it, with both of you in the room. Michael looked torn between anger and guilt. Mom, don't do this. You're destroying what's left of our family. No, Michael, she said softly. You destroyed it the night you let her call me poor and alone. She walked to her desk, retrieved a folder, and handed it to him. Since you're both so curious about my affairs, you should see for yourselves. Michael opened the folder. His face drained of color as he read the words. You left everything to Silver Haven, he whispered. That's right. Sabrina snatched the papers. This can't be legal. You can't cut out your only son. Evelyn's eyes met hers. There's no law that says I owe you my life's work. We'll contest it, Sabrina hissed. We'll fight it in court. Evelyn smiled serenely. Read the last page. Sabrina's eyes scanned the clause, and her face turned chalk white. Evelyn spoke softly. If you contest it, you'll lose the right even to visit this property. Ever. The silence that followed was heavier than any courtroom. Michael's voice cracked. I'm your son, Mom. Yes, Evelyn said. And I am your mother. But love without respect is emptiness. You can't demand what you've never earned. Sabrina's mask shattered. You'll die alone, you pathetic old woman. Evelyn met her eyes calmly. No, Sabrina. I'll die surrounded by people who understand that blood isn't what makes family. Love is. Sabrina stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows shook. Michael lingered at the threshold. Mom, please. There was always a way to fix this, she said softly. You just never tried. Then she closed the door, gently, finally. Months passed. Seasons changed. Evelyn's life became peaceful, full again. She joined a book club, painted in her sunroom, and planted roses in the garden. The house was filled with laughter, the laughter of friends, not family. She volunteered weekly at Silver Haven, sharing tea and stories with women who reminded her of herself. She no longer waited for calls that never came. She had built a new circle, a chosen one. Sometimes she wondered if Michael ever thought of her. The ache was still there, faint but alive. Then one bright spring morning the phone rang. She almost didn't answer. Hello. Mom, Michael's voice said softly. Can we talk? About what? About us. His voice wavered. Sabrina left. She said you'd be happy to hear it. Evelyn took a slow breath. I'm sorry to hear that. Can I come over? He asked. Despite everything, she couldn't say no. This afternoon. Thank you, Mom, he whispered. When he arrived, the arrogance she once knew was gone. His eyes were tired, his suit rumpled. "The house looks different," he said quietly. "It looks lived in," she replied. "Would you like some coffee?" They sat in the sunroom surrounded by her paintings and flowers. "You're painting again," he said. "I used to love watching you paint when I was little." Evelyn smiled. "You have a good memory." Silence stretched between them until Michael finally spoke. "Sabrina left when she realized there'd be no inheritance. She said I'd failed her." His voice broke. "She ended the pregnancy, Mom." Evelyn froze, her heart shattering quietly. "I'm so sorry." "She blamed you," he said bitterly. "Said if you'd given us the house, none of this would have happened." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "Do you believe that?" Michael looked away. "I wanted to," he admitted. "It was easier than facing the truth, that I married someone who only loved me for what I could give." Evelyn studied him. "Just like you loved me for what I could give." He winced but nodded. "I see that now. I was wrong." For the first time in years, his apology didn't sound rehearsed. "I'm sorry for everything," he said. "For letting her humiliate you, for not standing up for you, for forgetting who you were." Evelyn placed her hand gently over his. "I can't forget it," she said. "But maybe one day I can forgive it." He nodded, eyes wet. "I don't deserve that, but I want to try. Not for the money, for you." Evelyn looked at him carefully. "If I told you the will would never change, would you still want to come here?" Michael hesitated, then whispered, "Yes. I just want my mother back." She smiled softly. "The will won't change. But you can visit if you accept that we start as equals now. No expectations. No debts." "I understand," he said. "I'll earn it." Outside, sunlight poured through the windows, touching the roses they'd once planted together. As they stepped into the garden, Michael said quietly, "Can I help you plant something?" "You remember how?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "You taught me." They knelt side by side in the soil, their hands brushing dirt and forgiveness in equal measure. The money would still go to the foundation, the house would still become a sanctuary for others, but maybe, just maybe, it had already begun to heal what money could never fix. Evelyn looked at her son and thought, this is enough. For the first time in years, peace bloomed, quietly, beautifully, like the roses they planted together.